I love TV. Good TV shows. I love movies. I love stories, and I really love visiting worlds. I realized I had been in a somewhat a personal creative rut for a while, which is why I suggest to everybody starting Blender that don't do a donut. That's just not exciting. Find something that you're excited about, because you cannot learn Blender without being excited about what you're creating. By winning the puzzle game, I can build anything, which is insane, right? It's really amazing. Blender is the CrossFit of the creative world, and I come out with a clearer mind and calmer soul, I think. That trance, man, that's the business. And when you can find that nerve, that naive power, yet wield it with an adult mindset and maybe even an adult, really? Are you 15? I'm like, kinda, yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about. But what's even more fun than visiting these worlds is building them. Welcome to Technouveau. My name is Rasmus. I'm an art director and concept designer with 20 years of professional games development experience, and I'm on a mission to inspire and empower your creativity by discussing concept design, processes, and all the creative fields that are adjacent to this. If you're interested in supporting the channel, I have a Patreon where you can dive in and support and simply get these videos ad-free as a starter. You can also dive into the mentor community and get much, much deeper into the grid. I also have Technouveau.net, where you can access individual 3D models as well as big chunky asset packs, as well as a little merch just for, this is not my merch, anyway, as well as merch just for kicks. So if you enjoy discussing concept design, if you enjoy the creative process, and if you enjoy diving into what makes us tick and what makes designs work, be it science fiction or otherwise, I'll see you out there. Beyond that, let's get to the video. So first of all, I'm incredibly privileged. I have an amazing job as a franchise art director, making computer games where I get to build worlds most of the time, all day. Obviously, the job is quite complicated and complex, and it leads to a whole bunch of different situations throughout the day, throughout the week, and indeed throughout an entire year. It is not mundane, and it's not monotone either. It's all over the place, which is insanely cool. So it's keeping me challenged in many respects. And maybe you're sitting out there with a menial job or some manual labor or something that isn't even and you don't even have the opportunity to get really challenged for many different reasons. I'm certainly challenged, so in that sense I'm incredibly lucky. However, this topic is really about purpose, and to talk about purpose, yeah, it's about truth as well, right? It gets a little cheesy, but I'm down with the cheese, so we can go there. But having said that, what I think what's at the core of what I'm talking about here is really flow state. Flow state is the meditative state that you can enter when you do sports, when you play computer games, when you are raving at a festival, when you are drawing, making art, dancing, things like that. It's that place where you get into a trance-like state, and you flow between what you can, what you know, and you flow into learning, incrementally learning new things, and you sort of ride that wave of ever so slight progression, and you lose yourself in the moment of doing so. And that state is probably one of my favorite states of all, and that's really what I'm talking about here. So I would say, having mentioned that my job is incredibly complex and giving in so many ways, flow state is one of the states that I'm in the rarest, because a lot of time it's about, art direction is about paving the way and manifesting a vision and adhering that vision and leading the team through it and to it. And a lot of that is communication, and it's about formulating, and it's about these things where I'm not sitting down and losing myself necessarily. I am certainly from time to time, but generally not. And in that sense, I found myself missing this flow state. So in that sense, what happened to me was I discovered Blender a few years back. I had the opportunity to dive into Blender, and the funny thing was that I had an old Mac cheese grater, and the only 3D software that was free and available for the Mac platform that I could find was Blender. And I was like, I heard of Blender from way back. I guess I was learning XSI in design school and knew a little Max, 3D Studio Max. And they were like the big boys, and Blender, I guess I saw some Blender stuff at a convention or something way back, and I was like, this feels a little odd. That's not what the big boys are using. And I hadn't thought about it for years and years. It came back up on my radar. And because I had seen the stuff that Ian Hubert had been doing, and I'd seen the stuff that Jama Djurabayev had been doing, both in Blender but also in other different tools, there was this ignition in me about this creative spark, and I realized I had been in a somewhat a personal creative rut for a while, where at work I had focused a lot on theory and presentation and conceptual thinking and things like that, which I think is very helpful, especially in the beginning of a project. And in doing so, I had somewhat neglected some of those more creative core crafts, such as concept art and drawing and building worlds. And so Blender being the only 3D program available for the Mac platform for free, convenient, I dove in. And of course, once you search for Blender, I'm pretty sure you find Ian Hubert's work, which was amazing. Thanks, Ian. And I really found myself feeling like some of the old methods, seeing his work, some of the old methods that I had been doing were the way to do it. He was obviously excited in his lazy tutorials, and I was really smitten with that energy, and I felt like there's something there. So I dove in. And discussing a different few design tasks with buddies at work, I started building some spaceships. And wow, something happened. I really struck a nerve with myself there, and I fell into Blender trying to express this spaceship stuff, which is one of my nerdy hobbies. I really discovered that flow state within myself again that had been, let's say, less present for many years, maybe 10 years, 5 years. I don't know, but that, time doesn't really, I flow through it. I don't know, man. But I found that nerve there, and it really awakened something. So for me, I think Blender is this highly complicated puzzle game. By winning the puzzle game, I can build anything, which is insane, right? It's really amazing. And so the complexity of that is, of course, what's holding everybody back, right? Like interface and learning and all that stuff. Oh, it hurts, right? Which is why I suggest to everybody starting Blender, like, don't do a donut. That's just not exciting. Find something that you're excited about, because you cannot learn Blender without being excited about what you're creating. So I go straight to spaceships and hard surface stuff. And then there's a chance that you can win the puzzle of Blender's interface and whatnot and really get there. So yeah, that's how I rediscovered that flow state, and diving in through an interest really helped me there. Then I think in terms of the argument of stop consuming what you love to build it instead, which of course, how can you know what you love first of all? And isn't it a bit of a douchey statement to just turn your back on everything you like? Of course. And isn't there also a statement or an argument that you need rest? You can't create and create and create. And I'm like, well, maybe. But I would say for me, finding that flow state allowed me to be active rather than passive. What does that mean? Well, it means that by learning something new, I feel like I'm growing, right? I feel like something is happening and I'm becoming a better version of myself. I'm sure guys who go to the gym or whatever will say the same. Blender is the CrossFit of the creative world. Let's be honest, of the 3D world. But I really do think that if you can enter that flow state, you find other types of pastime less interesting. And I think it leads you to being active, and I think that activity leads you to build something within yourself that can move you forward. Sort of a slow building of a tangible skill set, maybe, right? For me, certainly Blender has helped in visualizing things in my job. It has certainly helped me visualize the worlds I have in my head. Or for those of you who know my work, I'm doing a lot of Star Wars themed stuff. So in that sense, I get to revisit one of my favorite imaginary worlds by building things that feel like it. And if I do a landing sequence with a bridge and a lamps and a this and that, I'm there. I inhabit that space as I build it, and I'm imagining these adventures that could happen there. And so I feel like it isn't constructed drama like a TV show would be, but I'm there. And because I'm active and because I'm in a flow state, that trance, man, that's the business. So there's something there that I think is really, really, really important. There's something about being able to contribute to the culture instead of taking it in only. As for this here Star Wars theme, of course it's a massive IP and lots of stakeholders and lots of fans and lots of different flavors of fandom, let's put it like that. And there's something about simply sidestepping the real world and everything that's going on there, and how this show feels, how that show feels, all these things. And I'm inhabiting my version of that universe, whatever that means. And even though I can't articulate it, and even though I can't necessarily describe what it means, and even though I'm not really even sure what I'm trying to say or do, if I put stuff out there, people can get an experience with it. And in that sense, actually, we're back to being able to inspire people, which of course is what, say, Star Wars did to me. Isn't that amazing? So people can see some of my stuff and they go, "Oh, I can see which adventure I'm going on now." And the story I have in my head is writing itself when I see this sequence or whatever. And that's just the best. So, I mean, people coming together for their common love of, say, a Star Wars universe, for instance, and just jamming on it sort of all over the world, right? I mean, is there anything more amazing than that? And even though it isn't particularly specific, and even though it isn't, manifested in a precise way, I think that bubbling, the bubbling of inspiration all over is just super exciting. And even better if people are saying, "Hey, you made me go back to Blender," or "Hey, you made me go and reconsider building this or write this novella," or something like that, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. And coming back to talking about culture and whatnot, all of us scroll this and scroll that and read the news and this and that, and we're all aware that the news cycle is really geared to give us the bad news, because it is a human natural response to respond to bad news. Well, I mean, it's an interest of survival, I suppose. Stone Age stuff, I suppose. And that means that we can't even really blame the media, whatever that means, for feeding us this stuff. We can only blame ourselves. It's our responsibility to deny that instinct in ourselves. And I think rather than writing hate mail on Facebook, or rather than, engaging like that, artistic expression can be a way for us to rid ourselves of our demons, in a sense. Let's say I do a lot of dark artwork. I do a lot of dark environments as well. Listen to metal and whatnot, and I'm pretty sure that that's a path for me to exercise my own little demons and come out. So I go through this cave in my flow state. I'm active rather than passive, and I'm building these lasting skills, contributing to the culture, whatever. And I'm also cleansing myself as I do so, and I come out with a clearer mind and a calmer soul, I think. And I think that's pretty important. It's better than scrolling for sure. And lastly, what's really cool, I've been posting on Instagram for a bunch of years, and now I'm, posting more consequently. Is that a word in English? The Danification. Anyway, posting on YouTube now because I feel like the responses I get on work and thoughts are just much more in depth, and I think people are willing to respond and really share what's on their mind and share what they're thinking based on the work. Again, back to the points I was talking about before. If it's world building or design work, or if it's an adventure that they have in their brainstem back here somewhere, that the work that they see is sort of making something pop, and it goes, and they can feel that come out in themselves, right? The high level of community and the high level of interaction based on the work, it is so cool. And of course on Instagram, I tell my wife about my Insta buddies, and she's like, "Really? Are you 15? And I'm like, "Kinda, yeah." And it's just the people that connect over this work, be it Blender, be it your favorite science fiction universe, be it tools, be it career stuff, whatever. And you know all the influencer types or the media gurus or whatever talk about building community. And yeah, I mean, it can sound a little sly, I suppose, when you package it, depending on how you package it, I suppose. But for me, it's certainly been true that going on this journey has led to what I truly feel is a community. And the people I'm talking to online or on the channels and all that stuff, it's just so cool. And I know that we're the same. We're on the same journey. We all want to dive in and lose ourselves to the work and build these worlds, and we all want to go there together. And I think that unity is just gorgeous. It's just beautiful. Back to inspiration. And so when I start this little chat here talking about purpose and truth and the cheesy things, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. So admitting that I'm lucky already and realizing that people might be super tired coming home from a hard day at work, I would still argue and implore you to search for that hobby of yours that makes you feel like you're 8 years old again. You know, I thought I was going to be a graphic designer because that's the grown-up thing that you do when you used to draw castles and dragons. And then I remember at design school at some point, after visiting CGart forums and seeing what Craig Mullins was painting, I was like, wait, you can just do that still? And so I did that still, and that's a story for another day. But basically the point there is I reconnected with the interests and the hobbies I had when I was a child. And you know what the Bible says about children and becoming childlike? I don't know what it says, actually. Maybe you know. But anyway, that old adage, is that how you pronounce it? About finding that pure inspiration and truth inside you that just comes out. And when you can find that nerve, that naive power, yet wield it with an adult mindset and maybe even an adult I'm losing the word here, but the mindset that makes you go and apply that seriously. So you apply a tender little naive powerful feeling with an adult order. That's something. That's really cool. Anyway, I'm losing myself here, but that's purpose to me, man. That feels true. So yeah, again, back to imploring you to try to find that. Like I say, right? I love movies. They shape me. And I'm not even making movies, but I'm visiting these worlds because I'm building them in my mind as I build them in 3D. And I would hope for you that you could do the same. Please go try. And talking about visiting the worlds we love and in my case, designing within them, I have a big sister design for the Millennium Falcon that I've been doing. Let me just see if I can find some comments on that, because I have some pretty fun feedback here. Hugh on Facebook says, every model should start with function and then go to form. This has a bare basic understanding of geometric shapes and how they fit, but you've ignored form and function. And then Levi says, it looks like it reeks of machine oil and hydraulic fluid. It's hideously utilitarian, which makes it feel authentic, like it has a job to do. Not every ship needs to be sleek, stealthy hunter. Okay, yep. I agree with that, and at least that was in the mindset I was in when I was doing it. Ronald says, some basic understanding of how the interior and exterior of a Carillion freighter works would help improve some of the imbalances of the model. Just as an example, is the front nose that does not make sense at all. I get your story, but at the end the nose is limited by somehow whatever. Bartos says, I think it's a bit over-designed. Detail is packed evenly almost everywhere so the whole thing falls into horror vacui. There'll be a pattern here for sure. Aaron, though, likes it. He says, it's so messy and beautiful because of how realistic the function over form is. It's like a Carillion-style ship like the Millennium Falcon, but either an earlier or later model. Yeah, that's the idea. With other functions than being something like a mini attack frigate. Yeah, it gives Millennium Falcon vibes. Yeah. Whoever designed this ship should have stopped halfway through, says Don. Yeah. Awesome design, definitely cool. Need a 3D model. We have a 3D model available. Excellent design, thank you. Let's see. Patrick says it's way over designed. Cyrus says, nah, dude, it's just too much junk. It's crap. Okay. Mark says it's a little too busy. Yeah, Mark says, in my opinion, it's over designed. That ship's too cool. So, Jason, right? That's too complex. So, yeah, thanks for your input. That's really, really cool. I think it's really fun to get this feedback here and understand that there are certainly vocal people who go, it's crap. I mean, I don't know who raised them to talk like that on the internet, but I still get the point, right? And then you have the people that are a bit more literate, maybe, and say that over-designed and stop halfway through. And I think it's really interesting. And then there are people who love the junkiness. But having read all those comments, I'm like, you know what? It's true. I've gone too busy on it, but maybe that's a story for another day. If you want to check out the CT800 and see my design thoughts on that, you can check it in this video here. And until next time, stop watching that TV show and go build that world. Yeah? See you.